Hey guys, Duncan Meter here. Thanks for tuning into the channel. If you could do me a favor and like and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And please leave some comments. All right, I'm gonna go a little rogue tonight and kind of get away from the reviews of guns and magazines and clips. For those that don't like the word clip, that's for an M1 Garand. And I'm gonna talk a little bit about range safety. What we've got here is pretty much what I carry in my range bag in terms of safety. Let's be honest, when you're at a shooting range, a firing range, what are you doing? You're taking a piece of metal, in this case lead, and you're throwing it downrange at thousands of feet per second by means of an explosion. So what could possibly go wrong? A lot of stuff. For those that don't know, I actually am and have been for over 20 years a New York State emergency medical technician. I've been in the field a long time, going back even before September 11th, 2001. So I do have a lot of medical experience and knowledge. And I'm going to try to make some videos on this channel as well, in addition to my firearm reviews, to talk about that. So without further ado, what do we have here? And hopefully you guys can see this on the camera. Again, I'm a one-man show, so sometimes it's a little difficult to zoom. Basically, this is a Maxpedition. I believe it's the Fatty organizer. I bought this online. The bag itself, obviously empty, I bought it. I want to say it was about $30, maybe $25. I put the patch on it, and right here I've got a SAM medical tourniquet, and I'll get into this tourniquet in a couple of minutes here. Well, let's just open up the bag. Let's see what's in the bag, what do I keep in here, and why do I keep it in here. Like I said, this bag always sits inside my Orca Tactical range bag, and for those of you that have not seen that review, it's on my channel. Please check it out. I actually love the Orca Tactical range bag. I've owned a lot of range bags over the last 20 years. That one is by far my favorite. Best price, best value. It is the perfect amount of room for me without being overdue. All right, so I'm opening up the bag here. Again, this bag is not meant to get me out of an airplane crash or a car crash or anything crazy. This bag is meant for me at the range to deal with, for the most part, the more likely scenarios that could happen. Right here, this is a small container of sodium chloride. What is this for? Maybe I want to irrigate a wound. Actual true story, I was at a range in Connecticut. Many years ago, I was firing my M1 Garand, and there were many other people at the range. I don't know if it was my round, I don't know if it was somebody else's round, but someone's round went all the way down range, struck a rock at a large berm, came back and hit me. Fortunately, it hit me in the leg, but it did make a pretty nice wound. I had a hole in my leg that I was able to stick my pinky about that far in. I was not seriously injured. Obviously, it was a ricochet. If it was not a ricochet, I would have been seriously injured. You know, but I had some equipment with me at the range, and I was with a bunch of my EMT buddies and paramedic buddies, so we were able to deal with what happened to me and continue on shooting. But anyway, so I keep some sodium chloride. This is to irrigate a wound. Maybe you've got a ricochet that hit you. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe something got ejected. And somehow it injured you. Got some shears. You can never go wrong with shears. God forbid somebody actually does get shot, whether it's unintentional or intentional, you're going to need to remove that clothing right away to get to the wound. You don't want to be sitting there looking for a pocket knife, trying to rip clothing. You want a good pair of shears. I keep a red bag as well, because if you're opening this kit, there is most likely blood. If there's blood, there's going to be, you know, hazardous materials. Maybe it's a bloody gauze pad. Maybe it's, I don't know, an article of clothing. You're going to want to put it in a red bag just for the safety of the folks at the range and yourself. Make sure that it's known that that item is hazardous. Get it out of there. Obviously, right along with that, I keep some gloves. You always want gloves. I might not be treating myself or someone I know. I might be treating a total stranger. Another incident. I was at a range, again, in Connecticut. I think this range is haunted. And somebody had a Mosin Nagant, and I don't know what exactly they did. I don't know if it was new ammo that they put in this very old rifle, but the whole barrel, everything just literally exploded and tore half the person's face apart. I mean, the person had shouldered the rifle, pulled the trigger, the whole barrel exploded, it was gruesome. The person lived. I was there. A bunch of my EMS friends were there. We helped treat the person. The fire department had to come and hose down the scene. These things are rare, but as a shooting enthusiast for over 20 years, I'm going to tell you, you do see incidents at the range. I keep some tape. Why do I keep some tape? Well, I keep some gauze pads. I've got some 5x9s. I'm not going to take all this out. I've got 4x4s. You know, the first rule here in EMS when you have a significant bleed is you want to apply pressure. You want to take the gauze pad, apply the gauze pad. If it bleeds through, you don't take it off because you're going to stop the clotting. You just take another gauze pad and you add it. You continue to add gauze pads. Well, how do you get the gauze pads to stay? You have a couple of options. You take some rolled cling, which is what I have here. This comes in different sizes. This is 3-inch, there's 2-inch, there's 4, there's 6-inch. You would unwrap this and you would wrap the gauze pad, and then if you're good, you tie a little knot. If you're not so good, you take a piece of tape and you just tape it. Again, this kit is mostly for bleeding because that is usually the injury that you're going to receive at the range. There's also many other items you can use. There's Israeli bandages, there's quick clot, there's all sorts of things. And I am not knocking any of those. I think they're all great. But for me, this basic kit, you know, works. Again, in 20 years, over 20 years going to the range, I've only seen about 3 or 4 injuries, but the injuries I've seen have been pretty horrific. So, you know, when they do happen, you actually need some stuff. I just keep a couple of Band-Aids in here. You know, sometimes people get cut, you know, maybe the slide comes back and it bites you right here. I keep a couple of alcohol prep pads, maybe you just need to clean a wound. I have a triangular bandage. This is great. You can make a sling out of it. You can use this for splinting. You can use this to tie gauze pads down. And that's pretty much all that I keep in this kit. Again, it's very basic. It's just for bleeding and hemorrhage control. Very basic, you know, stuff. I don't have glucose in here. I'm not anticipating a diabetic emergency at the range. I don't have thermometers. I don't have all sorts of crazy items in here that I do use on the ambulance. But I think, in my opinion, this is the bare minimum that you should have at a shooting range. You can definitely bring more stuff. There is nothing against that. I actually do keep a full medical jump kit in my truck, so if I needed to, I could always run out to get it. But I do want to have some basic stuff inside the range with me as I'm shooting. So I'm just going to close this up, and then we're going to talk about the tourniquet. All right, so now that this is closed, the only other item I keep at the range with me, aside from all the stuff in my range kit, is this tourniquet. This is a SAM medical tourniquet. It happens to be the same one that myself and my agency uses on the ambulance, so I am very familiar with it. But I think a tourniquet is a good thing to keep at a range. I can tell you, look, there's unfortunately a lot of serious calls happening nowadays in the world, whether it's active shooters, attacks with knives, whatever it is. If you have a shooting or a knife wound or something very significant that's going to cause you a significant loss of blood, you want to have a tourniquet. These gauze pads are great, right? If you get like a ricochet, maybe you cut yourself, you know. But if you take an actual bullet to an extremity, depending on where it hits, you might have a very significant hemorrhage, and this gauze pad is not going to cut it. So you're going to need a tourniquet. I hope I never have to use this in the range on either myself or someone else, but I do feel comforted knowing that it is there with me. I'll do another video if you guys are interested in how to use a tourniquet, but really quick with this one, you would take it, and again, forgive me, I don't know if you can entirely see this on the camera based on where it's angled, but this one's pretty easy. It's already loaded through here, right? But if you needed to, like let's just say your arm was pinned under a boulder, and you obviously couldn't slip this on your arm because there's a boulder there, you can just pull this all the way out and then re-thread it through. But let's say somehow I was injured right here. Maybe somebody intentionally shot me. Maybe I was careless and shot myself. The way the injury happens is irrelevant for purposes of this video. But you're injured and you're bleeding profusely, you want to take the tourniquet and you want to put it high and you want to put it tight. So if the injury is anywhere to this extremity, high and tight. This extremity, high and tight. Either of your legs, high and tight. And what I like about this tourniquet, and again, forgive me if you can't see it on the camera, this has 2 little prongs that kind of shoot up. So I don't know if you can see the holes in this belt here. And the prongs go right through and lock it in. And then you turn the Winslet and you you apply the tourniquet. So again, basically on this, doing it to myself, hoping you guys can see it, you would pull this really tight, it locks in, take this out, turn it really tight to stop the bleeding. You can write the time on here and you're good to go. And to release this, you just push this up and it comes right off. So I personally really like this tourniquet. There's a lot of other ones out there, a lot of really good ones. I am not by any means trying to sell you on the SAM tourniquet, but it is what I carry and it is definitely what I like. So with that being said, that is pretty much my medical kit that I keep in the range bag. I keep a lot of other stuff in the bag, and I'll probably take those items out one at a time and review them if you're interested. But this is what I carry, this is what I like, and I definitely recommend that you guys carry something. It doesn't have to be this. It could be anything. It could be an Israeli bandage and some quick clot and a tourniquet, and that's it. It could be thrown in a Ziploc bag. But you should definitely carry something. I'm telling you from experience, especially if you're new, injuries happen. They're almost always an accident, and you want to be prepared. God forbid it's you, it's someone you're with. You want to be able to treat them, do some basic first aid until an ambulance can get there, or you can get to a higher level of medical care. With that being said, I'd really appreciate it if you like and subscribe and leave some comments so I know that you guys are watching this and that you like it. Thank you.